Night Nation, Trey Strelko here. Welcome into the Sons of UCF Live. Hello, Adam, and our watch along here in the final minute or so of UCF men's basketball at Temple.
Yeah, Trace, a minute to go. UCF down 52-51 on a defensive stand right now. We'll see what happens. A little double team, Temple for three. All right, rebound. Let's see what goes on.
UCF with a rebound. They've been out-rebounded pretty consistently throughout the evening. Hey, guess what? Another close UCF men's basketball game going down to the final minute.
Yeah, they don't like to make it easy on you, do they? Certainly been a bit of a struggle. Horton has been a little bit cold tonight. I think I saw what was Hendricks, Kelly, and Durr maybe have combined for the majority of UCF's points tonight. So
Durr has now fouled out.
He is fouled out. Luckily, Lahat Shun is in, so we're good.
It's Lahat time. UCF led this game 15-9. Then they scored 5 points in the final 11-38 in this game, trailing 22-20 at the half. Hendricks with just 5 points at the half. 3 shots. See, this, I got to tell you, this is the part that confounds me. 8-time AAC Rookie of the Week. He's got to get more touches. He's got to get more shots, right?
Yeah, I don't understand. I meant to ask BJ Taylor this question last week when he was on with us. There seems to be stretches of time where he disappears from the offense. I don't know if that's by design. I don't know if that's maybe his just reluctance. I don't know if it's just other guys taking shots ahead of him. But if I'm Johnny Dawkins, I got to find more ways to get him touches, at least even if he's not going to shoot. I mean, he's going to draw defenders. He's going to be able to find the open man. He's a good passer. We'll see here. UCF with an out of bounds, though. 47 seconds left to go. I don't know where you all people are. I think I'm ahead of you, Trace, on TV time.
I've caught up. I've got 47 and a half. They're going to inbound the ball. Hendricks with 14. Kelly, 17 points on the night. Ithiel Horton, just 2 points. He's been cold all night. And UCF being out-rebounded in this one. I'll look up the stats while we watch this under.
I mean, why pump fake that? Just shoot that next time, CJ. Now, this is a shot for Hendricks. Here we go. Boom. Up one. I'm going to miss him.
You are ahead of me, but that's
I'm going to miss him. Yeah.
I'm going to miss him. UCF being out rebounded 23-20 defensively. So 24 and a half seconds. Timeout now. Knights up 53-52. UCF playing for seeding here. If they win this game, win the senior night game on Sunday, 2:00 ECU, could find themselves in the 6th seed with a rematch against Tulsa that they took care of handily on the road. Hey, this is a season which UCF has won at Tulsa and at Wichita State.
Maybe your last wins in Oklahoma and Kansas.
Set you up for that. I set you up for that one.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys next week.
By the way, no Mike off the top of the show. Might he be joining us at some point? I was involved in the game completely. Yeah.
Mike had another engagement pop up last minute, so I think he may be trying to hop in if time permits. I know people are going to conspiracy theory and say there's a basketball game on. Mike wasn't here. I can promise you, though, that is not the case. Mike had something pop up last week.
I would never censor UCF Mike like I kind of tried to do last week. Cancel culture. There's your cancel culture. We'll leave the Johnny Dawkins talk to the 59 minute.
Wild guess.
We've got Leo Rodriguez watching the game in the green room. He'll hop on with us as soon as this one ends and give us a little perspective on what he's watching. Trying something a little new tonight, coming in after the game is concluding or getting close to concluding instead of going head-to-head or moving nights. So thank you for watching along with us here at the 9 o'clock hour or catching us as this game ends. All right, Adam, you're a little bit ahead of me. Foul there on UCF?
Yes, indeed. We're sending somebody to the line who
Manny Morris watching live 8 o'clock Central Time.
Welcome.
Manny, good to see you. Thank you.
Was that on Lahat Shun? It was on Lahat Shun, of course it was.
Well, you knew when Michael Durr fouled out, you were getting Lahat in there, right?
Thierno Sila appears to be available. I'm just, from what I can tell, on the bench. So I did like we had Brandon Suggs in there. Brandon Suggs, professional charge taker. Nobody better in college basketball. I defy you to find somebody better in college basketball taking a charge than Brandon Suggs. At least one a game.
All right, so it's going to come down to a final shot for UCF with a free throw there.
Who takes the shot, Trace? Right now, who takes the shot?
Give the ball to Taylor Hendricks.
which means Darius Johnson for 3.
Okay. Darius Johnson, air ball from 3.
All right, here we go.
All tied at 53. Last time these teams met, overtime in Orlando, UCF lost that one 77-70.
So this would appear to not be able to go to overtime. We have one timeout left. Johnny's going to take it here. All right, you got to get Lahat Chun off the floor here. You don't need size right now. Jalen Young, give me Jalen Young here.
AAC Championship Series gets underway in Fort Worth, Texas next Thursday. So depending on where UCF seating may determine what time we go on, right? We'll have to see how that shakes out following the conclusion of Sunday's games.
Yeah.
So we'll have to let you know how that one goes. So
TBD,
14.7 seconds left. UCF trailing by 1. I know it's a point that UCF Mike has made when folks like me in defense of Johnny Dawkins talk about how many close losses there have been. He also points out that the close wins could have gone either way as well. If you like things down to the wire, UCF basketball has been there for you throughout this season.
All right, so for those following along in the chat, give me your guess. Who takes this final shot for UCF? I want to see what the masses think.
I got to give it to Taylor Hendricks.
I go Taylor Hendricks. Although CJ Kelly's been hot tonight, and he can get to the line and get fouled. He missed the front end of 2 earlier. So
Kelly 4 of 6 from the free throw line, 17 points. Taylor Hendricks was 16. Michael Durr, who's fouled out, with 11. Knights shooting 37% this one.
Got a Hendricks. Taylor Hendricks. I thought that was BJ Taylor initially. Elo going CJ Kelly again. That's a sleeper pick, Elo, because he's been hot tonight. Mario Horton's been cold. I agree with you. Dolly Hendricks to the hole. Robert, penalty box, 2 minutes. Robert Lahat Chun, go to the penalty box. Robert, 2 minutes.
Oh, Robert, no.
If Chun's on the floor, I'm all right. Freeman's in. All right, he's not a shooter, but he's a slasher.
UCF's quest for 20-win season is really dependent upon this one here.
Emptiness is up there. He's going to take the shot for me. I may actually like him better than the options I see right now. It's all right, Robert. I forgive you. All right, we're going CJ Kelly. Oh, he got fouled. Oh, he's going to go to the hole. Get hit. Oh, he's going to hit. Eric Lopez for the win here. We got 8 seconds left. CJ, get off the ground. Oh, boy. How are we going to blow this one?
Oh, goodness.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, goodness gracious. He called a foul. Oh, wow. It seems like some home cooking.
He's going to go to the free throw line shooting 2.
Yeah.
2.7 seconds left, so there's time enough here for a play.
There was contact there for an and one. I'd like to see that one be an and one.
UCF with a timeout or no? They have a timeout?
No, they took their last timeout. I must have missed the foul on that last one.
It's going to be interesting as we anticipate Steven Branca at 9:30.
84% free throw shooter.
This is a guy that's been to the line.
Well, he's about to be. Here we go. 2.7 left. No timeouts. Length of the floor.
I will turn over to you for the play-by-play.
I got no. Are curse words allowed at this juncture of the broadcast? I don't know.
It's no longer the family hour on the East Coast.
That's true. That is true.
80+% free throw shooter need to hit 2 with 2.7.
Oh, he missed it. Oh, he got the. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable.
And you can't fire up anything with half a second to go, right?
No, I don't even think you can get a shot. I think it's 0.8 that you can get an actual shot off. I think anything under 0.8 is a tip.
This is typical UCF basketball this season, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Misses the free throw. 80+% free throw shooter misses the free throw.
Who can I yell at here? All right. Freeman and Kelly just kind of squeeze each other, but no one actually touched the guy. Dolly is correct. I agree with you, Fleets. Mario, right on. Devin's going to be ill. Eric Lopez, who's never usually a loss for words. Oh.
10 after 9 here. Half a second remaining. UCF about to head to its 10th loss, will dip below any chance of finishing 500 in AAC play.
There's an option they could add some time here, Trace, which is still going to require one of these
No timeout.
ridiculous shots from who knows
After
where.
that buzzer beater loss to Missouri, don't they deserve one in their column?
And there could be about a second left. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be able to figure this out. They have no timeouts. So they're going to have to go length of the floor.
It can be done. This, of course, all happening without Temple's leading player there, Khalif Battle, no longer on the team. He had 26 points in that overtime win at UCF. He's averaging more than 17, no longer with the team. Should be a gift for UCF, right? No.
I thought you were pro Dawkins. That seems like an anti-Dawkins.
I am pro Dawkins. I'm just frustrated with yet another loss like this when you can – when you lose by 30, you can blame a lot of people. When you lose like this again, you can point out people like Ithiel Horton not doing a whole heck of a lot tonight. And again, Taylor Hendricks with 3 shots, 3 field goal attempts in the first half just isn't good enough. You got to give him the ball.
I just got a text message from former UCF basketball great Ben Stout, who says, "If this isn't the bleeping epitome of this season, I don't know what is."
Did
there we go, DJ.
Did he type the word bleeping, or could
you? Over the backboard. No, he did not type bleeping.
All right. And we will reset at 11 minutes after 9. UCF a 57-55 loser in the city of brotherly love, where they've gotten their mail the last couple of days, flying from Tulsa on Sunday into Philadelphia late night, and have been there throughout the week. They will now come home for senior night. Not quite sure who's taking part in that and who will be walking for UCF. For the home folks in attendance at the arena, it may be your last time to see Taylor Hendricks in action, should he decide to go to the NBA draft, unless you're heading out to Fort Worth. Hey, Robert, are you going to Fort Worth? Are you going to catch the Knights in action in the AAC championship this week? That's a question for you. Let's bring in Leo Rodriguez, who's been waiting patiently in the green room. Leo, about what you might have expected, right? When you joined us a few moments before we went on, and we put you in the green room, and you kind of had a sense that it would go like this.
Oh, absolutely. I think Ben Stout hit it right on the nail.
The word would you use the word bleep into that was being sensitive.
I absolutely would use that word. I have no filter sometimes, so I definitely would. I mean, let's break down this game first, and then we'll take it from there.
We turn the floor over to you.
So you scored 20 in one half. That's right there off rip is unacceptable. Unacceptable. You cannot score that low, in a half, especially against Temple, who's missing one of their better players, top scorer actually of the team. I look at our team as Memphis was basically the peak of our season, and from there we did go on a losing streak. And what I see from the players was from their body language and what you saw there, that last free throw. You saw how hard they tried to get that rebound, did they? It didn't look to me like they tried hard enough for that rebound. And what I see is us, or just the basketball team in general, just from that Memphis game, everything just goes south. The SMU games, the Tulsa games, you can't get much out of those. You can't. Those are bad basketball teams. It is what it is. They're one of the worst basketball teams in our conference, and maybe even in college basketball. But tonight, the 20 points in one half, the turning the ball over, giving Temple chance after chance, it's the epitome of the season. Absolutely, 100%.
Statistic for you, that's UCF's 11th single-digit loss of the season.
Yeah, that's
very good.
It's inexplicable. And just like you guys were talking about being pro Dawkins and not being pro Dawkins, I honestly don't think it goes down on the coach. I think when the players give you a sample size, as they did, starting off the season very well, they've showcased their talent, and then you put a second half of the season where they didn't look so hot. what does that tell me about the players? You've showcased what you can do. You did it against Memphis at home, yet you were unable to close out games when you needed to, and it all came down to single digits. And it has been. It's never been a blowout with us. It's always been single digits, and that's when you really have to start looking from within as a player.
Some final stats on this one, Leo and Adam. CJ Kelly, 19 points. Taylor Hendricks was 16. Again, Michael Duro fouled out. He had 11 for the Knights. Knights shot 39% in this game. Temple, 37%. Each 6 of 23 from three. UCF is 88% from the free throw line, but out rebounded. And no one more clear than that last play there. I mean, the hustle, the fight there. They don't get the missed free throw.
Yeah, it's been the story of the season, the out rebounding. We thought that getting Michael Durr back was going to be going to be a difference maker. Turns out we were rebounding pretty well without Michael Durr in the lineup. In some games, not all of them, because obviously we were getting killed on the boards at USF and teams like that. But that's such an important statistic. I mean, you got Michael Durr, a fifth-year senior. He's supposed to be your rock there and pretty much invisible at times. And then you got big guys like Lahat Toon that, you're expecting to get something out of him,
Hey, you're talking to Adam here. He's the president, the North Florida president of the Lahat Toon.
Yes.
Adam, the missed free throw there, what are they doing to get that ball? I mean, box out. What's happening here?
Yeah, it seems like just a miscommunication between CJ Kelly and Ty Freeman, right? I mean, there should be both those guys should squeeze down on the Temple defender and sort of seal it up. It seems like both thought the other one had more of him than they did. He kind of squeals around. But here's my question for you, Leo. And we're doing hot takes now on the Sons of UCF. We have a hot take segment coming up later on. Here's my hot take, Leo. You tell me if you think I'm right on this one. I feel like Darius Johnson has regressed a little from his freshman season. Do you agree with that assessment? Are you seeing the same thing out of Darius Johnson?
Yes, I do. I actually did not watch him play live last season, but I did take my time to see what the hype was all about Darius because, coming in this season, he was injured, came back for that game right before Miami. He did amazing. He actually scored 25 points that first game back or that second game back. And he looked like an exceptional player for us, and I thought that he would be the contributor to the team. I think he would be the focal point of the team at one point, next to Taylor Hendricks, those two guys right there. And then when you add in the problems that you've seen, he's got kind of a temper when it comes to getting texts and flagrants. Mm-hmm. We've seen that a couple times this year. It can get to him sometimes, and I think it also affects his performance because he's always thinking about how can I get this guy back. And I see it in his play sometimes where he's being ultra aggressive that could lead to a turnover, and it's frustrating for him. I'm pretty sure it's frustrating, but I do see a regression from year one Darius Johnson to year two Darius Johnson.
And in his temperament in games, it's something you and I have talked about, Leo, that he loses his composure in moments in games that lead to technicals, and then he disappeared in that game, last home game, right? We didn't see him for much of the second half.
Yeah, and I think that's what goes on with him. I think he tries to be a little ultra aggressive. He's not focusing on his game, and he does let his emotions take over. And he completely loses his abilities. And Coach Dawkins realizes, and that's why he, I think, ended up sitting him down. And we asked Coach Dawkins in the press conference, and, he said he liked what he saw out of Jalen Young. But if we're being real here, Darius Johnson, what he did year one, and then what he's been doing for you since he got back from injury, you'd expect more from him. And I'm pretty sure Coach Dawkins expects more from him, and not just him, but the other guys as well.
And you remember, it was a soundbite we played last week that I asked Coach Dawkins after the South Florida loss that you've been saying that this team's best basketball is ahead of it, but there's fewer and fewer games left on the schedule. And aside from these games with Tulsa, where are we seeing this? I mean, we didn't see it tonight.
No, you're absolutely right. I wasn't there tonight, and I think it hasn't been there the last, I would say, even month since that Memphis game. Um, I do see a demoralized team. I think that the psyche of the team isn't where it needs to be. I think that, they have a roster full of young guys, which is a problem when it comes to that. You have Taylor Hendricks, Darius Johnson. They're all young guys, and sometimes their mind's just not there. I am almost willing to bet. This is my hot take. I want to give you guys a little hot take. I'm
Oh,
willing to bet that these players sometimes go into these games and they're not 100% there. I see kind of that attitude ever since that Memphis game. You go on a 5-game losing streak, but yet all you got to do is show up against SMU and Tulsa, and you'll beat them. You have the talent, because I know UCF is a talented basketball team. They have the individual talent. It's whether they put it together on the floor and work together to get the victory out, especially with teams against Temple, USF, teams that aren't, supposed to be in the top 5 of the conference. And we were supposed to take care of business, and we didn't.
So Leo, let's talk about something that we've talked about. We're not gonna name names, okay? But following the Cincinnati loss, by the way, another end of the game loss, right?
Yeah.
We wrapped up media availability, then we went over to baseball. You were a little bit ahead of me, but when we compared notes, we both saw the same thing, that a couple of UCF men's basketball players, fresh from the arena, seemed to be lighthearted, laughing, joking, whatever they were talking about. I
Yeah.
smiled, I said hi, and I walked over to baseball. I don't know. Didn't seem
Yeah.
gut-wrenching loss to them
Right.
as much as
Right.
it seemed to feel to those of us
No,
that watched it.
absolutely. And I think, I'm not expecting these guys to, basically get down or be down the whole week. But immediately after a game, and once you're done with a press conference and you come in with a bit of a facade into that press conference, and not even 30 minutes later, everything's good. Something I also realized was earlier in the season, I saw CJ Kelly taking shots in the gym frequently, frequently. It's something, it's a little cliche. Oh, getting shots in after a game, just to get better. But it kind of shows, he loves the game, and, just to shoot around. I haven't seen him after a game since before conference play started. And that's just a little side note. But yes, when you have players, taking losses like that, and 30 minutes later just kind of laughing it off, I don't expect them to be, dwelling over the game. But your team's not having a good season, and I don't think I would take it that's just me personally. But to each their own as well.
7-10 now in the AAC, 16-13 overall. You felt like if they get to 20 wins, that there's a decent chance of getting an NIT bid. Now, how you getting to 20 wins? You got to win senior day on Sunday, 2:00 against ECU. That take you to 17. You're going to win 3 games in this conference tournament.
To me, it seems.
Let's put a bow on this one, Leo. Wrap this one up for us. Yet another crushing single-digit loss for the Knights.
Yeah, another crushing defeat for the Knights. And then we got senior night coming up. They're on Sunday.
Who's
2 p.m.
walking? We don't know.
We actually don't know who's coming back, because we do have seniors that have a COVID eligibility. You have a lot of 5-year guys, but we can expect CJ, Michael, even I think Ethiel has another year. So I'm expecting at least one of those guys to be back. Not necessarily back at UCF, but definitely come back for their next year of eligibility.
What was the let me look up, I've forgotten now. When did they play ECU? They won 64-61 at ECU back on January 4th. So is it safe to say, Adam, another tight game one way or another?
I can't imagine it being anything other than that, Trace. That seems to be the only thing we do around here.
All right, Leo, thanks for hanging with us tonight on Sons of UCF Live, the post men's basketball game edition of the show. I will see you. What's the plan? You'll be out of baseball on Friday night.
Yeah, I'll be out covering baseball. I would love to be at the basketball game, last game of the year at home, but
let's talk about that tomorrow night. Baseball's at 1 on Sunday. Basketball's at 2. We should split we'll have to talk about this because I don't want you to not ever see Taylor Hendricks in person again.
That'd be tough, but I'll probably see. I'll catch him around on campus,
or an NBA arena near you.
All right, Leo. Appreciate you. See you.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, Leo.
All right, Adam. That's another tough loss. A little bit of perspective. Thanks, Dolly, for the comment. Dolly, you put some money on this one, I believe. I think that turned out so good for
Rough
you.
night for Dolly. Yeah, it's interesting that, I mean, week after week, game after game, UCF just finds ways to lose games they should win, right? And Dolly had the comment about this is getting to Frost of Nebraska levels futility. That was obviously a 4 or 5 season stretch, but the comparison is somewhat apt in that it feels like we have the talent to win games. It feels like we're in games, and then something happens late and it doesn't go our way. And after a while, I know you and Leo talk a lot about the psyche, but I wonder how much that does weigh on players. So once they see that scoreboard get to late games, there's a little bit of reluctance. Who's taking charge? Who's kind of the one who's going to right the ship, right? CJ Kelly seems to have all the confidence in the world. Ithiel Horton seems to as well, but for some reason, we just can't seem to put it together when we need to the most. And that's probably going to be the biggest bookmark in this season is just what if? What if a couple shots go in? What if we play some defense here and there? And it feels like we've had what ifs now for a couple of years in a row for UCF basketball.
Well, final home game Sunday, 2:00 against ECU. Then the AAC Championship, Fort Worth, begins next week. We will keep you posted on when we will be going on. Depends on, of course, when UCF is playing. Let's talk a little bit football news. Some goings today. UCF's director of recruiting, Cole Hurd, now Troy State's general manager. So UCF loses him today. He's returning to his home state of Alabama. Welcome back just the other day to Cam Martin, running backs coach. He replaces Tim Harris Jr., officially announced today, being a part of the Miami staff. So some interesting, we know Cam Martin had been a recruiting and offensive analyst for the Knights in 2021. So he's back.
Yeah, I don't love staff turnover. Obviously, you want to retain as much of the staff as you can. I think Tim Harris was a guy, I think he interviewed for a couple of jobs this offseason, so it kind of felt like at some point his time was coming. Although he just got promoted to, assistant head coach? I think that was the title Gus gave him, which felt like an opportunity to maybe bump some salary and give him some career trajectory. I have not seen the contract numbers from Miami. He's from Miami, so I guess that makes some sense. But Cam Martin's inheriting a really nice running back room. He's a really good young coach, played at Auburn, so I think he knows Gus and the system really well. So he'll have an opportunity to really make a name. But his career has jumped, Trace. He was an analyst for us. He went to Incarnate Word with GJ Kinney, and he was going to follow GJ to Texas State.
He was there for a week, right?
The game there, and comes to UCF. So he's had a really meteoric career rise, but he's getting a really talented running back room. So I'm excited for him.
Season ticket update, 97% sold, 1,058 left as we speak. And Nitro tryouts, April 14th and 15th. By the way, I looked up they have an interest form and, the standard stuff, name and address, and you're in school. Question 7, Adam, is do you have a car?
Mm-hmm.
Question 8, do you have a job? Okay.
Interesting.
And here's my favorite one. Question 10. Describe yourself, Adam, using one word that starts with the same letter as the last thing you had for breakfast. What'd you have for breakfast?
Granola bar.
Granola. What's a word that describes you? Gregarious. I had oatmeal. So I'm going with obsessed with getting to 1,000.
See, I was going to go obscene, but obsessed seems to work for you too.
Obscene? No, I'm not obscene, but I'm obsessed with this 1,000 on this.
I saw your text on the UCF basketball game. You've got some fire there.
Yeah, I'm fired up about that. You guys had another great guest. You're on a roll again post football season with the guests. You had Anthony Montalvo on this week.
Yeah, great kid. Obviously, a walk-on who earned a scholarship for UCF and was there for 17 to 22. So saw 3 coaching staffs. Was a kid who could have left after last year, came back for his last season. Had some really specific goals about why he came back to UCF. It's a really interesting conversation. He's a little bit more forthcoming about some stuff. He talks about some of the guys who are transferring, some of his experiences there. But this part here, Trace, really kind of called to me. And we talk about this a lot with guys in the show. The last time he realized he was taking off his UCF jersey and would never put it on again.
It was emotional, especially like I didn't want to lose, leaving out. You know what I mean? I kind of was, pissy on the sidelines, when they just, kept scoring and we couldn't really do anything on offense. I had a couple of D linemen, the young guys come up to me and they were apologizing, like, hey, sorry that we couldn't do this for you. It wasn't, necessarily their fault or the coach's fault. I had the coaches do the same thing. Coach Gus came out to me and apologized. A lot of the older guys were, we were kind of pissed off in a sense, emotional. And then it hits you in the locker room when you're taking off your shoulder pads for the last time.
I'm surprised you didn't pull the bite where he said he wasn't always very forthcoming with the media.
He said he often just kind of hid some stuff, and he didn't necessarily answer the question. But look,
he was very good at that, by the way. You could
he
always
was very good at that. Yeah,
dancing around the questions.
But here's what I loved about that bite, Trace, is we talk about these guys every week. They miss a tackle to make a play, but you hear him talk right there about how much that 6 years meant for him at UCF and the reality of taking his pads off for the last time. I think we forget these kids are human beings. They're growing up, they're learning, they're making mistakes, and at the very last time they take their pads off, they kind of realize life is never going to be the same for them. Like they're never going to have that opportunity. And I think all of us who've been a part of something important, if it hasn't been sports or anything like that, when that finality hits you, I think it's really heavy, and it's always interesting to hear their reactions and kind of how that plays out, particularly when you lose on a loss, particularly when you've been here 6 years like Montalvo. But good interview. It's on our YouTube page. It's anywhere you get your podcast. Mike asked him bench, start, cut, Malzahn, Frost, Heupel. I won't give away his answers, but you're going to want to hear that one.
Catch that wherever you get your downloadable podcast content. Also, the full interview now available on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. But, forget this football stuff. This is a baseball school, Adam.
There we go.
Baseball school, 4 straight games with wins, including that sweep at Clemson. Knights knock off Bethune-Cookman in Daytona Beach on Tuesday night, 9-0. After that game, I was up in Daytona. I got a chance to talk to head coach Greg Lovelady. UCF went a little viral for running down onto the Clemson football field. Coach said they're a little bit mouthy, and I asked Coach Lovelady about that.
I mean, I just worry about us. Like, I know how we play. I know how our kids act. I know how we do things. We have a lot of fun, but we do it all respectfully, and we just go out there and try to win games.
You know who also is a little bit mouthy? Stephen Branca.
That's not true.
The color commentator on the
Trace.
ESPN Plus broadcast, integral part of UCF baseball. We're glad to have him back. He missed being with us last week. Stephen, welcome back into Suns Live. We got no audio on you, Stephen.
Thanks for having me back.
Go.
Yeah, and I can be mouthy. I mean, I could definitely be mouthy, but I was a little mouthy when I played. But I know that I couldn't help but watch that Clemson series, and I'm watching every time a Clemson player scores, like they're either turning to UCF's pitcher and they're saying something, or the catcher and they're saying something. So I can only imagine that UCF was just matching their energy that weekend.
Well, let's talk about that. We exchanged texts throughout the weekend. I didn't expect a sweep. I go into these series saying, can you get 2 out of 3, especially on the road at Clemson? They really bashed the ball.
Yeah, they really hit, and they've had a tendency to do that on the road. I think I texted you the stats. I mean, the last 4 years they've gone on the road to places in the second weekend that aren't easy places, and that one of them is actually coming to town this week in Georgia Southern. But the first year was Auburn, the COVID year. They swept them, putting up 27 runs or whatever it was there. 2 out of 3 from the number 1 team in the country, and Ole Miss at their place, losing on a walk-off. 2 out of 3 at Georgia Southern. On a walk-off, they lost that game too. And then they sweep this one here. I mean, Love gets those guys right when it comes to those big weekend series early in the season. I think Florida kids are a little more prepared than most places, especially when you head north. So he schedules those weekends before they got their feet under them, and he takes 2 or 3 from them. So,
Stephen, obviously 7-1 start for the Knights. What surprised you the most so far about the start for the Knights?
I think offensively, you're seeing some guys that we didn't expect to be as offensive as they are. Andrew Brate being one of those guys, was always really just a contact type hitter. But now we're seeing a little bit more gap to gap out of him, a lot more consistency out of him. And then the freshman as well. If you told me you had a switch hitting freshman that was going to come in and bash the ball around the ballpark like this, not named Alex Freeland, I probably wouldn't agree with you, but Drew Farreau has been just that. And offensively, you're really seeing these guys come out of nowhere that I know Love and Coach Tom, those guys, they knew that they had these guys that were going to do this type of stuff. But from the outside looking in, we weren't quite sure. We were expecting guys like, Ben McCabe and Tom Jostin to do the things that they're doing. But some of these younger guys that are emerging have been fun to watch.
And pitching staff so far, Stephen, obviously has been pretty solid. I know you talked about Rudy Gomez. He's struggled maybe a little bit. What are you seeing out of Rudy, and what do you think he needs to do to kind of settle down and sort of take that ace role for the Knights?
Yeah, it just consistently down in the zone. When his ball gets up in the zone, he gets hit. His fastball up in the zone is very flat. He gets down in the zone. He's got some depth to it. That's a big thing for him. I think that's a lot of the guys right now is they're missing up in the zone and they're getting hit around the ballpark in a few areas. They haven't pitched as well as I think they thought they would to start the season. It's been good, but not great. And I think they have room for improvement. So that's awesome for them. But down in the zone and mixing pitches, some of the pitch calling I think has been a little predictable, to be honest. And so I think they're working on that. I think it's a little different for a new pitching coach to come in and call games for these guys. I think they're just getting used to each other and what they can do in game situations right now.
We saw the return of Ben Vespi in the Clemson series, and he picked up a win. And then Coach Lovelady announced today the weekend rotation, and there's Ben Vespi on Saturday. Cam Leiter moved to Sunday, and Dom Stagliano, who was the AAC pitcher of the week prior in the win over Siena, now out of that weekend rotation. What's your assessment of that? The announcement of those changes?
Yeah, I think he's going with the guy that he knows what he has. I think he's had been under his regime here for a couple years. He knows who Ben Vespi is. He knows what he's capable of. And when he's healthy, he's really, really good. And so I think he just knows what he has there. And I think he knows what he has in Dom Stagliano as well. I think it's just maybe he sees that it's better suited out of the bullpen. Because I know they're going to come up to some close games, and the bullpen has pitched really well. You look at guys like Kyle Kramer and what he's done so far, but they need a couple other guys on that back end that they can really rely on. So maybe that's what he sees is somebody out of Stagliano that could be better on the back end, and Vespi knowing that he can get 4, 5, 6 good innings out of that guy just because he's been around him.
The midweek game was a win at Bethune-Cookman. Much better showing for the Knights than the week prior when they got thrashed at home by FAU. The story, though, on Tuesday, the return of Andrew Sundin, who has battled back, had the hip injury. He went 3 for 5 runs scored. So good to see him back in the lineup. And he says he's getting closer to working his way back into a catching role.
Yeah, that's going to be huge because right now you're seeing Cole Russo struggle with the bat a little bit. And, Ben McCabe has been just fine, but it's tough for Ben to catch 3 games in a series. So to be able to split that with Sundin and McCabe behind home plate would be a huge upgrade in the lineup for them right now until Russo comes back around hitting. But that's to have depth behind the plate like they're going to have with a healthy Sundin and a healthy McCabe will be there won't be much better combo in the country behind home plate. So,
Stephen, if I did my math right, which is a big if, by the way, I counted 18 of the next 20 games for the Knights are at home.
Yes.
How much of an advantage is that for the Knights to have such a long stretch of home games?
It's a huge advantage. I mean, there's just something about playing in your park with your fans, sleeping in your bed throughout that stretch that it helps a ton. Travel really takes it out of you. And so, you get good meals at home. You get a nice bed. You get comfortable. You don't have fans yelling and cursing at you. So it's a lot easier at home. And then you got the last bats if you need it. So it's a huge advantage. And the schedule is really favorable now. Looking forward, you take that series from Clemson. They got a good opportunity to make a run here if they can get hot this weekend.
I meant to ask you this last week when you were on the show, 2 weeks ago when you were on the show. A lot of talk this offseason. We changed the fence, right? A new fence in the ballpark. How big a deal is that? How big of a change is that? Is that a plus, a minus for UCF? Kind of give us your assessment of the new outfield fence for UCF.
Well, it's a lot prettier. It looks much better than it did aesthetically. It's a huge upgrade. As for players, the way it plays, it might be moved in just a little bit. It's not much, if anything. I think it's just it's just another level of pride, I think, for the team. I think you got the new scoreboard that's working. Now you got the new fence, you got the turf halo around home plate. It's just like you have pride in that facility to where this is our house now, and we're gonna protect it, and we're gonna play that way with that different kind of confidence. I think that's really all it brings, is a different mindset mentally. Instead of a fence that looks like it might fall down out there, now you got something a little sturdier. You feel better about it. It's just a level of confidence that you feel toward it.
Going into this season, Coach Lovelady said of John Rice Plumlee, going to be fast on the base paths, going to be good defensively in the outfield. He's got to get his timing at the plate, and hits a long ball at Clemson. What's your scouting report of what you've seen through the first 8 games with John Rice Plumlee in the lineup?
Yeah, the leadoff spot's not for everybody. And so we saw that for him. It's tough. I remember my first game back after having a surgery my sophomore year. I was put in a leadoff spot, and my first at bat, I struck out. And it's really easy, when you have that first at bat and you don't have success, to just roll right downhill from there. So you just got to have short memory when you're in that spot. But I think he's seeing better pitches down in the bottom of the order. And so that's better suited for him. He's able to do more things down there toward his game. He can do some small ball stuff. He could lay down the bunt, and he'll surprise you with the home run every now and then, because he is a big, strong kid. But, I think it's just the comfortability and the pitches that you're going to get down at the bottom of the order that's going to help him with his timing. You see more fastballs. You see more of the same pitch, to where he's able to time those up in a leadoff spot. I mean, they're gunning for you. I mean, they're seeing you a bunch of times as well. You're going to get the most at bats out of everybody. And so you got to be on your A game. And when they're mixing pitches like they were doing to him early on, it's tough to have success, especially when you haven't had an entire fall to get your timing right. And he's just going to be a little bit behind. But I see him getting better throughout the year. I see that as something that could be possible for him.
And when you're at home games, watch the dugout. He is a high energy guy. He's a cheerleader for his teammates. He's always moving around. He's always chirping. So he's fun to watch in the dugout. Another high energy guy, you mentioned him a moment ago, really a closer, Kyle Kramer. He's lights out. He just brings so much energy when he's on the mound.
Yeah, he's a great pitcher. I actually recruited him out of high school as well. So I've known that kid since he was like 17. But he's got the same short arm action on fastball, slider, and changeup, which makes him really, really hard to hit. Ball just jumps out of nowhere, it feels like, as a hitter. And he's so consistent with it. So you can imagine he's got 3 pitches coming out of the same exact slot, one at 90 plus, another one at 84, 85, and the changeup. And then the slider is just a wipeout slider at 80. I mean, so it's all different in timing, and all different in action, in the way they move. I mean, he's just so consistent in what he does, and that's what makes him so good.
Steven, we're doing hot takes around here for the Sons of UCF, and I have a hot take for you. What if I told you that John Rice Plumlee might not be the best quarterback playing outfielder for us, because this kid Brady Shannon is a good quarterback out of high school, but seems like he's really good with the bat so far. What have you seen so far in his game, and how good do you think Brady can be for us down the stretch?
He's a tank, that kid. He's a big human being. I remember I came down early in the spring for one of their they were doing live at bats or something, and this kid comes and stands next to me in the dugout, and I'm like, who is this kid? Where did he come from? Because he's towering over me, and I'm not small. I mean, I'm 6'1", 200 pounds. So like, I'm not a tiny human, and he's 6'3", like 225. And I'm like, where's this transfer from? And the strength coach is like, no, he's a freshman. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is a new kind of recruit that we're getting in this place. And so I'm hoping he's a guy that, the coaches were saying this kid can really stand out. He's got a ton of ability. And a couple of guys were saying, they think he's a better option than some of the veteran guys and whatnot. And I was like, man, this is a guy to watch. And he's shown so far, he's got some thump. He covers a lot of ground in the outfield. He moves really well for a big kid. And it shows. I mean, maybe he can go out there and be a backup quarterback, or maybe, just push John.
How many quarterbacks you want on this baseball team?
I mean, we got like 3 or 4 of them. So.
Well, Steven, speaking of JRP, he made a great catch in that Clemson game. But something struck me about that I guess I don't pay enough attention to college baseball. There was no warning track on the Clemson outfield. Is that common to see in college baseball? No warning track? No. Is that something unique to Clemson's field?
That's unique to Clemson's field. They have like a little bit of a hill actually that kind of comes up right the last few feet of the fence. I guess that's their warning track. I don't know if they're trying to blow out ACLs or what, but it's not conducive to somebody that's trying to play outfield. It's just unique to them. I remember when I saw that before, and I was like, man, I'm glad I don't play outfield, because it's not what I'm looking to do right there. That was a fantastic catch that he made. He robbed that home run, and it was cool to see the energy that he had after that, because the guys all kind of fed off of that as well. It was like the turning point. It almost felt like the nail in the coffin for the weekend. You know, they had commanded most of that series, and that was just kind of the icing on top of the cake. So.
Forgive me if this is a dumb question. Are there not regulations that every field has to have? Is there not some sort of mandate that they have to have some sort of a warning track?
I mean, you can't technically, I guess not, but because a lot of those turf fields, it's a turf warning track. It looks like it's a warning track, but it's turf. So there's multiple places that don't have warning tracks. And like I said, for me, I'm glad I didn't play outfield, so I never really had to worry about that. I wasn't going near warning tracks very often, unless I was going behind third or first, playing up the middle.
Knights welcome in Georgia Southern Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 6, 4, 1 o'clock starts. What do you know about them? And it's going to be a tough series for the Knights.
Yeah, they took 2 out of 3 against West Virginia early on, who's got a decent program. And so they show really well. You know, they're a good team. They got some guys who could swing it. They haven't shown a lot of pop this year yet. I think they only got 3 home runs or something like that on the year, which seems like nothing compared to the amount of home runs that UCF has at this point. But their pitching is pretty good as well. They got some guys who got some experience, mix really well. And so they got some guys that can really play. So it should be a good series. I talked to Coach Lovelady earlier, actually yesterday. And he's been prepping for this series because he thinks this is a big one to keep the guys heading in the right direction.
You're on the plus Friday, Saturday?
Friday, Saturday, yep.
All right. We appreciate you being with us again this week on Sons of UCF Live. See you out at the ballpark, Stephen.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks, Stephen.
All right. Softball is out west. They had a pair of games today. They're in the Judy Garmin Classic in Fullerton, California. They beat Fresno State 1-0. The story in this one, pitcher Sarah Willis, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 9 Ks, picks up her second win against 1 loss. Grace Jewell with a save, but Willis also went 1 for 3, scored the only run of the game, caught the final out in left field. She's unbelievable and very versatile. Knights, however, lose to Michigan 2-0, held to 3 hits in that second game. Pitcher Caitlin Felton took the loss. She's 3-3 in the season. Knights 10-9 now. They're falling out of the polls, but no sense for alarm just yet. They played a tough schedule. Savannah Adams, the sophomore, the AAC Player of the Week. They've got a tough one Friday against UCLA at 5:30. Loyola Marymount later in the evening. You can't get any of these games on stream or TV or radio. Saturday, March 4 against Cal State Fullerton. Go around the kingdom before we take a look at the hot takes. How's the fire? You got the fire crackling? You got some wood?
It's warmed up. Yeah, I've got some driftwood nearby.
Driftwood.
I don't know what you do with a fire. I'm in Florida, Trace.
Terms that you don't expect to make into the show.
That's fair.
Women's basketball, they blow another game. That's sort of like the men's basketball team. They lose late, 70-60 at Tulsa. 4-11 overall in the AAC, 13-14 record. They are 10th seeded. They will face Tulsa again, the 7th seed AAC championship in Fort Worth. That begins Monday, March 6th at 4 o'clock. Track and field are your AAC indoor champions, which when you consider they don't have an indoor track, all right, that's pretty impressive. And they beat the Cows in that one. They pick up a couple of War on I-4 points. Renaya Jones, the big story, she qualifies for the NCAA Division I Indoor Championship March 10th and 11th in Albuquerque, competing in the 60-meter hurdles. We had her on Sons of UCF Live just as her star was starting to take off. So she is a good one for the Knights. But congratulations to them. Continue to do well with track. And again, no indoor complex. They're winning the indoor championship. All right. It is hot take time. How are we playing it this week? I don't think I
All right, here's what I do, Trace.
This last
yeah,
week.
I got you covered. Here's what I'm going to put the hot take on the screen, and I need you to tell me whether this is a good hot take or a bad hot take, and then I'll do the same. All right. So let's judge the hot takes.
Before you do that, can we define this? Because Mike was kind of blasted. Oh, that's not a hot take. That's just accurate. That's just fact. Well, how do we define hot take? An outlandish, outrageous statement? Is that what that's? I'm not a hot take guy.
Open to your interpretation, Trey. That's why it's your show. You get to decide how you want to assess these takes. You see the first one on the screen here. UCF. Baseball booms are more exciting than football booms, Trace. That's a hot take. Do you agree with this take? Is this a good take or not so much?
Football's king, right? So when there's a big Gus Malzahn boom of a new recruit, that's pretty exciting, especially after how well they did during recruiting season. I will say lukewarm. Can I do lukewarm on this take? Cold.
I like that one. I also agree. This is a. Here's why.
Fire, by the way. Is there no fire?
I can't do the fire. The fire last week, it really annoyed some people. They thought it was s'mores. I didn't want to disorient the crowd. A baseball boom, I assume, is after a home run, they all sort of gather around, and the guy who hits the home run comes in and kind of does the boom, right?
That's exciting.
It's exciting, but football boom could be the next great quarterback for UCF. So I think that boom is better than a baseball boom. So here comes the next up, the trio of JP Gilberts. QB1
he loves
will be playing. This is his segment. This is his segment right here. QB1 will be playing professional baseball in fall 2023 and not football. We covered this on the podcast, Trace. John Rice Plumlee is eligible for the Major League Baseball draft. It's only 20 rounds. It's been shortened from previous years. He's off to a good start. Will QB1 be playing professional baseball in 2023, Trace?
No. This is a very cold JP Gilbert. No.
I think there's an outside possibility. Like Mike and I talked about this in the show. If he gets drafted high enough, I think there's a possibility. I just don't think he's going to get drafted that high. I mean, he's going to have to basically be first 10 rounds, I think, to make the money worthwhile. So I'll agree with you, Trace. This is not a good take. But JP's not done yet.
No.
UCF should halt all fundraising for athletic facilities and instead ask donors to bankroll NIL. Do you agree with this take? Is this a good take?
Isn't that what's sort of happening now?
All right, then. we got a winner.
Well, you know what? Coach Malzahn's always talking about the changing face of college football. Isn't there some truth to this, right? I mean, you got to bankroll the NIL, right? You got to keep these players, and then the dollars flow in for other things. So we'll give JP that one.
Yeah, I think he may be onto something here, Trace. Obviously, I don't want to completely not support the facilities, but you and I have talked about this for a long time. There's going to be a point where somebody who has disposable income and has to figure out how they want to disseminate it to UCF has to decide players or facilities. I think more and more, even UCF saying, and you're seeing more player-centric stuff. So I think I'm going to give JP Gilbert the win on this one. But he's not done yet, Trace. One final one. Rather than focus on recruiting Australian punters, UCF should aim to recruit sumo wrestlers to play on the offensive line, Trace.
No. We go to Germany for our guys. Germany. No. This is a no. So 1 out of 3.
I like the outside the box thinking. I like the creative thinking here. However, nobody's pulled this off yet. And I got to feel if somehow this was a possibility, some coach somewhere would have converted the sumo wrestlers to offensive linemen. So I like the outside the box thinking. I like that JP's pushing the envelope. I just don't think sumo wrestlers are where we're going to be at.
Can we talk about JP? He's lobbying UCF for a Miami area, and goodness, he wouldn't even go into the football game when UCF was down at FAU. It didn't even make it to the Suns tailgate. So I don't know, maybe they'd have to have the coach's tour in his house, but he's lobbying that it be down there in South Florida. What do you think of setting him up in a media role for the Suns?
Done. I told JP Gilbert is welcome here anytime he wants to be. I know.
Do you think
guys have
he
your
will
fun on Twitter.
You think would he be sitting right across from Coach Malzahn and Coach Dawkins, because Coach Dawkins will be still on that tour?
He will be actually. Yes, you're correct.
Do you think JP, the distinguished legal eagle, would wilt under the pressure of the?
No, I think JP will be very affable. I think he'll get a couple of jabs in there. I think he'll make some people smile and laugh. I think JP will be just. If Mike can do it, JP Gilbert can do it. I mean, let's just put that. We got a lot more hot takes, Trace. And I got to tell you, the comments, people not loving the hot takes, by the way. All right, Matt Dolan. Clemson needs to put some bleachers on that hill. He assumed it had bleachers. Imagine standing on that slope for 4 hours. No wonder those people are so ornery. Is that appropriate?
Tradition, it's fine.
Oh,
Tradition, no.
Give me some bleachers. Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. Give me some bleachers on that one. I don't need for that. Zeebles pushing the character limits here on our cryon here. The UCF baseball team running down the hill after beating Clemson was so disrespectful that all UCF baseball players should be banned from playing football. Actions have consequences, according to Zeebles. Trace?
It's creative. It's witty. It's cold. It's no.
No, because this would also rule out Brady Shannon, who's 6'3", 210, and we may need him at some point. So I don't want to lose Brady Shannon. Eric Solberg, the Marching Knights will be the best band in the Big 12. I think we can all get behind this one, Trace.
Sure, why not? You know, what I don't know really, that I don't understand, and maybe Eric can explain it sometime, is how is that evaluated? I know they've got one of the largest marching bands in the country. How do you evaluate quality? We see this with the cheerleading championships. How do you evaluate this? And maybe Eric can drop it in the comments what he knows about the bands of the Big 12.
Too much, Trace. Just yes, we're going to be the best band ever. Charlie Zollers.
It's not as easy as it looks to say these Twitter names every week.
Actually, I wasn't sure if that was a typo. JRP gets drafted in the MLB draft and decides to go sign and play baseball. I think we've already figured this one out. No, that one. Sorry, Charlie. Brian W. Peterson, JRP will have a better 2023 campaign than 2022, despite moving up to the Big 12 and playing baseball in the spring. Brian's hot take, and forgive Brian, he's in spreadsheets and tax forms right now. He's probably sniffing a lot of whiteout. He's probably not all there, but he thinks JRP can have a better 2023 than 2022. Trace, can I get your opinion there?
I think it depends on his health. I think if he can stay healthy, I think.
I don't have a button for that. I'm gonna need a yes or no. I don't have a button for that.
I'm gonna go yes.
All right, here we go.
I'm gonna go yes.
I'm gonna go no. I'm not sure if this is a hot take. I think this is a mailbag that snuck its way in as a hot take, Trace. I think you got to do a better job of filtering these out because Joyce, I think, sneaks a question in here. Is there a third sport we can get JRP to play? If he can box out in basketball,
disguised as a hot take.
If he can box out in basketball, we need all the help we can get there. So maybe we take him there. And finally, Mario Lonely B UCF. The softball team will disappoint me more than the mouthy baseball team, Trace.
Through the early part of the season, it certainly feels like that. I would agree. I think the success that softball had, and the expectations for this season, they still got to work some things out pitching. Baseball off to a good start. But as we've talked about, baseball and basketball the last few seasons sustain it, especially when conference play gets underway. But so far, Knights 7-1 in baseball, healthy. Getting some guys back now, Andrew Sundin, Ben Vespi, and that's what you want to see. And as you mentioned, 18 of the next 20 at home, big opportunity for the Knights to rack up the wins at home in baseball.
That's my answer. I think, look, softball, obviously, schedule is really tough out of the gates, but I think this can play to their advantage down the road. But, we'll see how that shakes out. I'm going to be bullish on baseball right now. I really like what I see from this team. I'm going to go in. I'm going to drink the hopium. I'm going to assume we're going to have a great baseball team. To answer some questions, Manny is correct. That is the Family Feud bell. Congratulations.
Very good.
That. Devin is rethinking his life because he agrees with Wild Bill. Manny may or may not be drinking right now, which I am totally fine with.
Manny, what are you drinking? Jeez,
Dolly Andor, his
Manny
hamstring is good right now. And so Robert wants to know whether there's a boxing bell. Yeah. RV Buzz, not a fan. I don't know who RV Buzz is, but I apologize. We've seemed to have upset him. Oh, we're calling out JP Gilbert. Wow.
Keyboard warrior.
Yikes, Manny.
That's a good hot take right there.
Don't start. Oh, hold on. There you go.
What would you, if we sought credential access for JP at a coach's store stop in South Florida and UCF pushed back, what would your reaction be to that?
I would.
Are you ready to die on that hill for JP Gilbert?
Listen, I think JP would do the respectful, responsible thing. I think he, congratulations, by the way, to JP Gilbert. Welcome to new addition to the family. So congrats to JP and his lovely wife. I think he would do the responsible thing. I think he would be absolutely responsible. Maybe needle a question here and there, but I think he'll disarm, Dawkins, Malzahn with his charm. I don't know if he's getting past security, though. I feel like there's pictures at the wall when JP walks in. So.
I have it on good authority that he's very well known in UCF athletics.
I've heard that same authority, yes.
Yeah, that he's well known. As he said, though, recently on social media, what kind of program we got here if the J.P. Gilberts of the world are needling UCF athletics? That's good stuff. All right, well, this has been a fast-paced hour, beginning with the first 10 minutes, play-by-play watch-along with men's basketball, another heartbreaker, their 11th game there with a single-digit loss, a 57-55 loss at Temple. Knights return home now Sunday, senior day, 2:00 against ECU. Seeding still to be determined in the AC Championship, which will begin next Thursday in Fort Worth. Stay with our socials to find out, when we'll be going on. That'll be dependent upon the game. And Miss Mike this week, not so much. He would have just railed against Johnny for the whole hour. Is that a hot take?
Hold on, I can't. I don't have the. There we go. You're in.
Thank you for putting everything together. As always, Adam, I want to thank Leo for hanging with us for the first half hour and Stephen Brinka for all of his baseball insights.
Yeah, let's hold on really quickly, because I want to shout out Leo. But Leo has done a tremendous job for us all season long, covering the basketball team for us, now covering baseball. You said earlier, he's pulling double headers. He's doing basketball in the morning, baseball in the afternoon, shooting video, writing articles, just a man on the scene. So if you haven't followed Leo yet on Twitter, make sure you find Leo out there. It's at Leo Sportif is his handle, but just a public acknowledgement, because I don't think that we could have done quite the effort we've done this season without Leo. So big shout out to Leo. We appreciate you. Glad you're part of the Sons of UCF family.
That's correct. I will see Leo this weekend out at UCF. All right, we'll put a wrap on this one for Adam. I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights.
Ben McCabe, catcher. Thanks for watching Sons of UCF.
Ben
John,
McCabe,
Ben.
big fan of the Sons of UCF.
He should